Hello, this is Frank Keeney, and I'm going to share with you some real discoveries I found with doing Facebook video ads, which have completely changed the way I do e-commerce on Facebook. Now, the first thing I'd like you to do sometime, maybe tonight or sometime soon, is turn on your television to a broadcast channel where there's commercials, not Roku or Amazon or Netflix, but someplace that has commercials. The next time a commercial comes on, then I want you to mute the volume and watch the first commercial and the next few commercials with no sound, and just see how, look at that ad in a different way. Because the reason why I want you to do this is because on Facebook video ads, almost nobody ever listens to the sound. So when I've calculated and looked over some of my statistics on my Facebook video ads, I see 92% of the people that watch my video ads never play the sound. So with the Facebook ads, the sound is not really critical. Now, but I want to make sure that we understand exactly how to make them effective. So Facebook video ads, they should not be made like television commercials. They should show off a product, but they should not be polished and all perfect like a TV ad with dialogue, a narrator. You can have that, but 92% of your target audience will never hear any of the narration. I typically just put a piece of some nice music in the background. So that's number one. The sound isn't really critical. The number one most important thing that you do in a video ad is in that first 3 seconds, the first 3 to 7 seconds, you need to show off how terrific that product is. So just like if you're running an image in a link post or a photo post where that image is really, really critical, the same thing needs to be done in a video for that first 3 to 7 seconds. Because at around 7, depending on who your audience is and what you're showing, somewhere in the 7 to 10 seconds or 15 seconds, you lose half of your viewers because people are just scrolling through. So what I typically see in a video is they'll show the wrong thing first, and that's so the wrong thing to show is maybe the product unassembled, or start assembling it from the very beginning and then show off the finished product later on. You need to reverse that. Show the finished product or how it's used right from the very, very beginning, and then maybe about 7 seconds or 12 seconds later on, have a little teaser piece of text at the bottom that says, hey, keep watching to see how we put this thing together. And then if there's some time-consuming assembly, just speed that up so it looks really good. Now, typically, I'm going to show you my studio that everybody can put together to make a video ad. This is a no-brainer. So putting together an ad for putting together a video is really easy, and you probably have you may already have everything you need to create an ad. And I'm in a little bit I'm going to show you exactly how I filmed or recorded all my ads, and that I've with these ads, with just things I already had, I've sold tens and tens of thousands of products. Well, I don't know. It's probably a lot more than that in just the last 3 months, just doing it just like this. So typically what I do is I'll shoot, depending on the product, I'll shoot anywhere from 5 to 10 or maybe more short little clips, close up of what it is. And then when I assemble the ad, I'll just use a video editor and put it all together in very quick edits. So I may have these, 5 or 10 videos that I shot and then I'll edit them together, and then shorten them so it's really tight. So people have real short attention spans, and my videos are typically anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute and a half. So length, I like to have them a little bit longer, and then you want to render the video square. So not landscape like you see on your flat screen TV. You want it to be completely square because that will take up more space when the ad shows up. So your product takes up more space on the screen, and you can show off your product even better that way. So it will actually show it, even though when you may need to learn a little bit more about your video editor to make them square, but once you have that working, it's a much more effective ad. I've actually done testing, and my ads that were landscape performed much better than an image ad or just a regular link post image. But when I made it square and I tested the same targeting and everything, I got like approximately 15% improvement in my metrics. So cost per sale or cost per acquisition or whatnot. Basically, the cost per impression drops. But here, I'm going to show you how I do my videos. I'll show you my little studio. So I'm just going to tilt the camera down. I hope you can see the whole thing. But I've got this on my coffee table, and I think one of my videos I filmed on one of these tables just like this. So I'm going to tilt it down so you can see this. And there it goes. Let's see if we can get the whole thing in here. So it's basically a selfie stick attached to a tripod. So this here is just, the top part of this is a selfie stick with a telescopic stick like they normally have. But this one at the very bottom is threaded on the inside, so I can attach it to a tripod. Now this is a little spotting scope tripod, so it's really small, but if you've done any photography or anything in the past, or you could just go to order one on Amazon, get a tripod for a camera, and attach your selfie stick. So, I mean, you may already have one of these. I mean, I think I've used the selfie stick more for doing video ads than I ever have for taking selfies. So this is a real quick way to make them. And then of course it's so typically, like this tripod's really small and the selfie stick is small, so it's so portable. But just like right here, I've got something on my table like I would be doing a product demo, and then I've got my selfie stick with the phone on it just attached, and just start creating your videos, then copy them off and you just take them off the phone, edit them down, and you're done. So I know I had a couple more things I wanted to bring up, but the number one thing is that first 3 seconds, the next 4 seconds. It's so critical on your video to have that just right, so that works. And so because realize that, remember, as we're running our ads, those ads show up in people's news feed, and they're just scrolling by. So if you don't catch their attention in those first 3 seconds or so, then you're going to lose them. Now, the other thing that works real well also is inside of audiences is to create an engagement audience from your video. So I typically create all of them. So you've got people that have watched 95% of your video, people that have watched 75% of your video, and 25 and so on. So typically when you run a photo post or a link post, you don't have you can retarget people that visit your site, but you can't just retarget the people that view your ad. Now, that's another big advantage of running video ads, because you can create these engagement audiences. So even if they never clicked on your ad, Perhaps they just watch the video. And typically those that watch longer, watch more of the video, are more likely to convert into sales. So what I typically do, I'll create all the different types of engagement audiences for the video, the 95%, 75%, and the 25% and the others. But I typically test the 75% and the 95%, and those are typically the two audiences that convert the best. So typically what my practice is to create those engagement audiences, and I have the 5-day window on those. So they, I don't want it to be too long, because typically, if they haven't bought in the first few days, they're typically not going to buy. So those engagement audiences, along with retargeting, those engagement audiences can really convert very, very well. So let's see here. So for like background music, I always put some sort of music in the background. I get some stock music or something like that from someplace. But you can sometimes your video editor will include that. Now, as far as video editors, I mean, if there's one that you know how to use, just use that one. Don't make it too complicated. Shouldn't take that much time. And now so typically if you're doing, say for example, you're drop shipping from AliExpress and you don't have the product, well, now's a good time. If you've got products that are proven sellers, start ordering samples for yourself so you can create those videos. Now, I also do videos where I take just the static images and build out some sort of a slideshow or something. Now, those aren't quite as good, but they do work, and they can perform very well also. Let me just make sure I want to cover all of my notes here. All right, so yeah, now typically I do have text within the video. So when I want to highlight something, have a call to action. And yeah, Brian's just posted some stock music. So definitely make sure you're not using any copyrighted music, because Facebook will detect that. So that's very, very important. So Brian posted freestockmusic.com. And let's see, I think I've covered just about anything. I don't know if there's any questions about building videos. I'd be happy to answer them. But what I typically see when I'm critiquing somebody's video and they show it to me, then usually what I see is that they're not showing off the product in a big way to start off with. So that's like number one thing, because if you don't get them in the first few seconds, then you're not going to have them at all. And then the other thing is now I'm going to give you some examples about in my testing, what I found. So when I first started experimenting with video ads, and I started with a product I was selling with either a photo post or a link post, and then of course you've got each of those, you'll have a cost per sale, and if you look in your metrics, you can see your cost per impression and so forth. So what my Facebook rep always reminds me when I talk to him, he always says, Frank, remember that the most important thing for Facebook is that the users have a good experience. And it seems like when I talk to him, he always repeats that to me. He says, that's real important, the main thing. So if you can put something kind of fun in your video, or that will actually give it get more engagement and so forth. Now, along with this, what he's really talking about, I think from an advertising point of view, we call that engagement. So you've got a group of people who are liking it and sharing it and clicking through and so forth. All those things that make it a good user experience. If that video stops in front of someone Facebook knows where that video is showing, and now if someone stops to watch it, Facebook knows that too, and you'll be rewarded with lower cost per impression, which can help you win the auction for that ad space. So the fact that your video has more engagement and is more engaging with the Facebook audience can make an enormous difference in getting more impressions. And the end result will be lower cost per impression. And when you're selling products, that means your cost per purchase will go down. And my experience with this universally across any of my successful products is an image or a link post versus a properly done video. The video will typically cut the cost per purchase in half versus a link post or an image post. And remember, when I talked about rendering that video square, now I run that as a video link post, and it's square, and that takes up the same space as a photo post, like a 1200 by 1200. It takes up the same amount of real estate on a mobile or a desktop. So that's real important to take up more space. It gets more attention, and then with the properly done video, you can have more engagement, which basically means that people on Facebook like it, and Facebook will reward you. That's pretty much all I have in my notes to go through. But I want to be clear. Just I know there's a bunch of editors out there to do videos. Like I know Vegas is popular, and and I just use Camtasia because typically my background with videos on the computer is doing training. And so Camtasia is a terrific product to record screens. And then it has an editor in it as well. It comes with an editor which is decent, and that's the one I know, so it's just the one I use. It's not the best editor, I know that, but it's the one I know how to use. So that's what I recommend. If there's something you know how to use that one, and try to figure out how to render it square so it just takes up more space when you run that ad. And then what I do is I run the video as a link post video, and so that way it has the call to action below the video. Again, and then your ad is taking up more space when it's coming through. So that's what I've just seen such an enormous difference. I've taken some things that were barely profitable with a regular image link post or a photo post, and make them do a demo of the product and show it off, and that would really it made a huge difference. One of the other things I did is often with a product that I don't have, I'll use available images to test it, and then if it's a more maybe a more technical product or something a little more complex. And what I do is I really watch for the feedback in the comments to see what kinds of questions are asked about the product. And then what I do is when I make the video, I answer all the questions. So for one product, for example, I showed off how it works and how neat it is, and then because people when I ran the image ad, people asked how to clean the product. So when I did the video ad, at about 7 or 8 seconds into the video, I put some text at the bottom that said, "Keep watching for cleaning instructions." Well, guess what? I got people to watch longer, and then now people were sharing it, and that video, I'm getting around 30% of my reach is organic on a website conversion ad. It's like, for me, that's totally mind-blowing to get that amount of shares and likes and comments and so forth. So just leave me any questions below, and I'll try to do one of these in here on a regular basis. And everybody have a great weekend.